What is your woe? What is your woe? What is so amazing about your initiative that really deserves your attention or our attention during the next 3 years? Do you have a woe? What makes an initiative, an idea original? Let's see an example. Who knows what this is?
Sagrada Familia.
Everybody agrees that this is very original. And what is so original about this architecture? At that point, everybody took for granted that this was the way to build architecture. I mean, we started emulating nature when we started building, and if you look at the like the Greek orders, the columns, those are abstractions of the tree, of a tree trunk. But so here, at this time, everybody understood that the way to do architecture was like that. You know, we create a vertical structure than a horizontal structure, and this is the way we create architecture. But there were some people that were ready to challenge this, and Gaudí was among them. He proposed, as you were saying, geometrical studies of how actually, I mean, forgetting about the premises that everybody was taking for granted, forgetting about the assumptions, he decided to go back to the origin of the shape and the best way to actually transfer shape. And he found this. He found that this kind of structure is much more effective than the simplified structure that everybody else was looking at. So he proposed to go to this kind of solution, and this is what made his architecture so original. He went back to nature for efficiency, and he found that in nature he would find not only efficiency but also his aesthetic approach. And that is what makes it original. So if we follow his advice, this is one of the quotes that I like the most. Like, not only his, but in the world. This is one of my preferred quotes. Originality is going back to the origin. And that is so complicated, so difficult to do. So that is the first strong suggestion that I'll make you. Try to go back to the origin. What is behind your cells and the origin right now? I've proposed this onion as an example, as a metaphor. And in the first layers of the onion, you'll have the biases, which are all of the things that you might take for granted without even knowing it, without even being aware. Then you have the premises. Sometimes your very premises are the limitations for your initiatives. And then you have the things that you assume, which are those things that you take for granted that you will not be testing at this time. Right? And then at the origin, you'll have the pairing of the problem or the opportunity with your hypothesis. All right? So we need to make sure that all of the layers that separate us from the origin, and we've taken them apart, or at least we are very conscious of them. Okay, we're going to try to be a little more specific about that. Here is a codex of all of the reasons why unconsciously you can be wrong. This is an exercise that I suggest you do. You go to the cognitivebiascodex.com and you'll find this interactive website in which you can find all of the different ways by which you can be wrong. This is representing your biases. It's an interesting exercise that we will not be doing, but you can always take a look at it. And surprisingly, or unsurprisingly, when you go to the origin, you'll find that there's no single solution. There's no single answer. You might find different answers, different solutions. So it'll be up to you to decide which one is the one that deserves your attention, okay? So even at the origin, there is no single approach. There's many different ways of being original. All right. So another quote that I really like is this one by Astro Teller. Astro Teller suggests that perspective shift will unlock much more than hard work and resources do. And that explains why the large companies do not succeed generally to disrupt themselves, because they're not fresh enough. There's too much routinary thinking. They have too many biases and too many premises that they just can no longer change. So they're not ready to pivot. That is the great advantage that we have over them. We are much more agile. We can go deeper. We can go to the origin. We can go much more radical, and we can change our ideas. We can pivot our ideas. Or can we? When we change, we really need to let go. Because otherwise, if you don't do this, if you don't let go, probably you're going to be dedicating a lot of time, just like I did, to projects that you could know upfront. You could find validation or data that proves that are not worth your time, right? So again, fall in love with the problem, not with your solution. This is very complicated to do. There's another artist. Joan Miró is the kind of artist that everybody that goes visiting at the museum, as they pass by, they say, well, my kid can do that. And they don't understand how really difficult it is to do that, because being able to draw like your kid means being able to forget about all of your biases, all about your techniques, all about your premises, all about your assumptions, and go back to the origin. That is the message. And that is why it's so very hard to do this. Go back to the origin. That is what I'm asking you to do. Find your origin and make sure that you identify your assumptions, identify your bias, and you go to really to the root. Go radical in that sense. Go to the root. Okay? And that means reassessing everything that you're doing. These are fundamental part of what I do with the large organizations. I'm asking them explicitly to reassess their industry, to reassess the business, the way they understand their activity, to reassess the kind of challenges that they are facing, to reassess the problem space, the very purpose of the organization. I mean, these are foundational things of every organization. And now, with the COVID and before that, with all of the disruptions, ongoing disruptions, we are asking, your certainties are no longer good. You need to reassess them and consider them hypotheses. Really. So that is another question for you. What will disrupt you? What will make your initiative so irrelevant, so old, so out of pace that will make it completely obsolete? Because if you can identify that, what you might disrupt you, maybe it will be a good idea to focus all of your efforts on precisely that.